Hello, I'm Vincent from Free English Lessons. In this video, I am going to teach you conditional, if. And in this section you'll learn 1, if, and the conditional, example, if I had known you were in prison, I would have visited you. 2, unless, example, you'll be sick unless you eat healthy. 3, expressions like if, examples, supposing, if only, what if. 4, the verb to wish, example, I wish I had more food. 5, I'd rather and it's time, example, I'd rather she went. 6, as if / as though, example, he looked as if he was sick. So, I am going to start off with a, if, and the conditional. Now, in this section you'll find information on sentences containing the word if, the use of conditional tenses and the unreal past, that is, when we use a past tense but we're not actually referring to past time. There are 4 main types of if sentences in English. 1, the zero conditional, where the tense in both parts of the sentence is the simple present. In these sentences, the time is now or always and the situation is real and possible. They're often used to refer to general truths, such as scientific facts. Examples. If it rains, if clause, if plus simple present, you get wet, main clause, simple present. If you heat ice, condition, it melts, result. If my wife has a cold, I usually catch it. If public transport is efficient, people stop using their cars. This structure is often used to give instructions, using the imperative in the main clause. Examples. If Vincent phones, tell him to meet me at the cinema. Ask Remy if you're not sure what to do. NB, the order of the clauses is not fixed. The if clause can be first or second. Examples. Ice melts if you heat it. You get wet if it rains. 2, the type 1 conditional, where the tense in the if clause is the simple present, and the tense in the main clause is the simple future. In these sentences, the time is the present or future and the situation is real. They refer to a possible condition and its probable result. They are based on facts and they are used to make statements about the real world and about particular situations. Examples, if it rains, if clause, if plus simple present, you'll get wet, main clause, simple future. If you don't hurry we will miss the train. We often use such sentences to give warnings. Examples, if you don't leave, I'll call the security. Nobody will notice if you make a mistake. What will you do if you miss the bus? NB, we can use modals to express the degree of certainty of the result. Examples, if you drop that flask, it might break. I may finish that story if I have time. 3, the type 2 conditional, where the tense in the if clause is the simple past, and the tense in the main clause is the present conditional. In these sentences, the time is now or any time, and the situation is unreal. They're not based on fact, and they refer to an unlikely or hypothetical condition and its probable result. The use of past tense after if indicates unreality. We can nearly always add a phrase starting with but that expresses the real situation. Examples, if it rained, if clause, if plus simple past, you would get wet, main clause, present conditional. If she went to bed earlier she wouldn't be so tired. If the weather wasn't so bad, I would go to the market, but it's bad, so I can't go. If I was the Queen of England, I would support everyone. Present conditional. The present conditional of any verb is composed of 2 parts, the modal auxiliary would plus the infinitive of the main verb, without to. Example. Affirmative, she would learn. Negative, I wouldn't go. Interrogative, would she come? Interrogative negative, wouldn't they accept? Would, contractions of would. In spoken English, would is contracted to d. I'd, we'd, you'd, he'd, she'd, they'd. The negative contraction equals wouldn't. Present continuous conditional. This form is composed of 2 elements, the present conditional of the verb to be, would be, plus the present participle of the main verb, base plus ing. It expresses an unfinished or continuing action or situation, which is the probable result of an unreal condition. In type 2 conditional sentences, the continuous form of the present conditional may be used. Examples: affirmative, he would be coming. Interrogative, would you be working? Interrogative negative, wouldn't she be playing? If I were rich, I wouldn't be doing this job, I would be working in Kenya if I spoke Swahili. But I don't speak Swahili, so I'm not working in Kenya. She would be living with John if she wasn't living with her parents. But she's living with her parents, so she's not living with John. I wouldn't be eating this if I wasn't extremely hungry. If I had an exam tomorrow, I'd be revising now. You wouldn't be laughing if you knew the truth. 4. The type 3 conditional. In a type 3 conditional sentence, the tense in the if clause is the past perfect, and the tense in the main clause is the perfect conditional. In these sentences, the time is past and the situation is contrary to reality. The facts they are based on are the opposite of what is expressed, and they refer to an unreal past result. Example: if it had rained, if clause, if plus past perfect, you would have got wet, main clause, perfect conditional. Type 3 conditional sentences are truly hypothetical or unreal, because it's now too late for the condition or its result to exist. There's always an unspoken, but, phrase. If we had studied harder we would have passed the exam, but we didn't study hard, and I didn't pass the exam. If we'd known you were coming we'd have baked a cake, but we didn't know, and we haven't baked a cake. NB, both would and had can be contracted to D, which can be confusing. Remember that you never use would in the if clause, so in the example above, if we'd known, must be, if we had known, and we'd have baked, must be, we would have baked. Examples: if I'd known you were in prison, would have visited you. We would have bought you a present if we'd known it was your birthday. If they'd had a better striker they wouldn't have lost the game. If you had told me you were in Dubai, I'd have sent you the email. Would you have bought a rabbit if you'd known how much they eat? 5. A further type of if sentence exists, where type 2 and type 3 are mixed. The tense in the if clause is the past perfect, and the tense in the main clause is the present conditional. In these sentences, the time is past in the if clause, and present in the main clause. They refer to an unreal past condition and its probable result in the present. Examples: if I had worked harder at school, if clause, if plus past perfect, I would have a better job now, main clause, present conditional. If I had looked at the map I wouldn't be lost. Perfect conditional. The perfect conditional of any verb is composed of two elements: would plus the perfect infinitive of the main verb, equals have plus past participle. Affirmative, I would have believed. You would have gone. He would have gone. We would have gone. They would have stayed. You would have gone. Negative, I wouldn't have believed. You wouldn't have given. It wouldn't have gone. We wouldn't have gone. They wouldn't have gone. You wouldn't have gone. Interrogative, would I have gone? Would you have left? Would she have gone? Would we have gone? Would they have gone? Would you have gone? Interrogative negative, wouldn't he have gone? Perfect conditional, continuous. This tense is composed of two elements: the perfect conditional of the verb to be, would have been, plus the present participle, base plus ing. Affirmative, I would have been sitting. You would have been swimming. He would have been studying. We would have been working. They would have been working. Negative, I wouldn't have been working. You wouldn't have been working. She wouldn't have been working. We wouldn't have been working. They wouldn't have been working. Interrogative, would I have been working? Would you have been working? Would he have been working? Would we have been working? Would they have been living? Interrogative negative, wouldn't I have been working? Wouldn't you have been working? Wouldn't she have been working? Wouldn't we have been working? Wouldn't they have been traveling? This tense can be used in type 3 conditional sentence. It refers to the unfulfilled result of the action in the clause, and expresses this result as unfinished or continuous action. Again, there's always an unspoken, but, phrase. Examples: if the weather had been better, but it wasn't, we'd have been sitting in the garden when she arrived. But I weren't, and so we didn't see him. If he hadn't got a job in Kampala, but he did, he would have been working in Nairobi, but he wasn't. If we'd had a ball, we would have been playing football. If I'd had any money, I'd have been drinking with my friends in the shop that evening. If I had known it was dangerous, I wouldn't have been climbing that wall. She wouldn't have been wearing a helmet if her father hadn't told her to. Mixed conditional sentences. It's possible for the two parts of a conditional sentence to refer to different times, and the resulting sentence is a mixed conditional sentence. There are two types of mixed conditional sentence. 1. Present result of past condition. The tense in the if clause is the past perfect, and the tense in the main clause is the present conditional. Examples: if we had worked harder at the school, if clause, if plus past perfect, we would have a better job now, main clause, present conditional. If I had looked at the map, I wouldn't be lost. In these sentences, the time is past in the if clause, and present in the main clause. They refer to an unreal past condition and its probable result in the present. If we had worked harder at school is contrary to past fact, we didn't work hard at school. We would have a better job now is contrary to present fact, we haven't got a good job. If I had looked at the map, I didn't, I wouldn't be lost, I'm lost. More examples: would be rich now if I had taken that job. If she'd caught that plane, she'd be dead now. If you hadn't spent all your money on women, you wouldn't be broke. 2. Past result of present or continuing condition. The tense in the if clause is now or always, and the time in the main clause is the perfect conditional. Examples: if I wasn't afraid of ants, if clause, if plus simple past, I wouldn't have picked it up, main clause, perfect conditional. If we didn't trust her, we would have sacked her months ago. In these sentences, the time in the if clause is now or always, and the time in the main clause is before now. They refer to an unreal present situation and its probable, but unreal, past result. Example: if I wasn't afraid of ants is contrary to present reality, I am afraid of ants, and I would have picked it up is contrary to the past reality, I didn't pick it up. B. Using unless in conditional sentences. Unless means the same as if not. Like if, it's followed by a present tense, a past tense, or a past perfect, never by would. It's used instead of if plus not in conditional sentences of all types. Type 1, unless plus present. Examples: you'll be sick unless you stop eating sugar. You'll be sick if you don't stop eating sugar. I won't pay unless she provides the goods immediately. If she doesn't provide them, I won't pay. You'll never comprehend English unless you study this grammar carefully. Equals: you'll never understand if you don't study. Type 2, unless plus past. Examples: unless she was very ill, she would be at work. He would be here by now unless he was stuck in the traffic. Type 3, unless plus past perfect. Examples: our financial director would not have signed the contract unless he'd had the company legal expert present. They would have shot him unless he'd given them the money and the phone. C. Uses of the unreal past tense. The past tense is sometimes used in English to refer to an unreal situation. So, although the tense is the past, we are usually talking about the present, a hypothetical situation that might exist now or at any time, but we're not referring to the past. We call this use the unreal past. Example: in a type 2 conditional sentence, if an antelope and a rat fell in love, they would have many problems. Other situations where these occur are, after other words and expressions like if, supposing, if only, what if, after the verb to wish, after the expression I'd rather. D. Expressions like if. The following expressions can be used to introduce hypothetical situations: supposing, if only, what if. They're followed by a past tense to indicate that the condition they introduce is unreal. Examples: supposing an antelope and a rat fell in love. Equals: but we know this is unlikely or impossible. What if we painted the class purple? That would be very surprising. If only we had more money. Equals: but we haven't. These expressions can also introduce hypothetical situations in the past and then they are followed by the past perfect. Examples: if only she hadn't kissed the frog. Equals she did and it was a mistake because she turned into a horrible princess, but she can't change it now. What if the camel had trodden on the rat? She didn't, but we can imagine the result. Supposing I had given that woman my money. I didn't, so I've still got my money now. E. The verb to wish. The verb to wish is followed by unreal past tense when we want to talk about situations in the present that we're not happy about but cannot change. Examples: I wish I had more food, equals but I haven't. He wishes he was handsome, equals but he is not. We wish we could come to your birthday party, but we can't. When we want to talk about situations in the past that we're not happy about or actions that we regret, we use the verb to wish followed by the past perfect. Examples: I wish I hadn't said that, equals but I did. I wish I had taken that job in Cairo, equals but I didn't, so I'm stuck in Abuja. NB. When we want to talk about situations we are not happy about and where we want someone else to change them, we use to wish followed by would plus infinitive. Examples: I wish Jane would stop smoking. Equals I don't like it, I want her to change it. I wish John would go away. Equals I don't want him here, I want him to take some action. I wish Cynthia wouldn't squeeze the toothpaste from the middle. F. I'd rather and it's time. These two expressions are also followed by an unreal past. The verb is in the past tense, but the situation is in the present. When we want to talk about a course of action we would prefer someone else to take, we use I'd rather plus past tense. Examples: I'd rather she went. She'd rather you called the police. I'd rather you didn't hunt the giraffes. NB. The stress can be important in these sentences. To show what our preferences is, she'd rather you called the police equals she doesn't want to. She'd rather you called the police equals not the ambulance service. Similarly, when we want to say that now is a suitable moment to do something, either for ourselves or for someone else, we use it's time plus past tense. Examples: It's high time I prayed. It's time you paid that hospital bill. Don't you think it's time you had a haircut here? G. As if / as though. Clauses that start with as if / as though describe an unreal or improbable situation if they are followed by unreal tense, the past subjunctive or the past perfect subjunctive. Otherwise, they express that the statement is true. The past subjunctive after as if / as though indicates an unreal situation in the present. However, if the situation is true, we use a real tense to express present time. Examples: She looks as if he knew the answer. She gives the impression that she knows the answer, but she, probably, doesn't know, or we don't know whether she knows or not. She looks as if he knows the answer. She knows the answer. If we put the verb preceding as if / as though into the past tense, the present simple knows changes into past simple, whereas the past subjunctive knew stays the same. Therefore, both sentences will read as follows: He looked as if he knew the answer. Consequently, the meaning of this sentence, whether he knew the answer or not, can only be deduced from the context. The past perfect subjunctive after as if / as though is used to refer to an unreal past situation. If the situation is true, we use a real tense to express past time. Examples: He seems as if he hadn't slept for days. It seems that he hasn't slept for days, but he, probably, has, or we don't know whether he has or not. She seems as if he hasn't slept for days. She hasn't slept for days. If the preceding verb is put into the past tense, the present perfect hasn't slept changes into the past perfect, while the past perfect subjunctive hadn't slept stays the same. She seemed as if he hadn't slept for days. H. Clause after wish. Wish plus, that, plus past simple. We can use wish to talk about something that we would like to be different in the present or the future. It's used for things which are impossible or very unlikely. Examples: I wish that I had a big car. I don't have a big car, but it's a nice deal. I wish that I didn't need to work today. We do need to work today, unfortunately. In formal writing, you will see were instead of was after wish. This is correct, but it's also fine to use was in the same way as with the second conditional. I wish I were rich, or I wish I was rich. We also use wish with could to talk about things in the present or future that we would like to be different. In this situation, could is the past simple of can. We use could with wish to talk about ability and to talk about possibility. Examples: I wish that I could speak Swahili, but, unfortunately I can't speak Swahili. I wish that Stephen could help you clean up. Stephen is at work, so he can't help. We don't usually use wish this way for things that are really possible in the future. Instead, we use hope. Examples: I hope that you pass your final exam. Not, I wish that you passed your final exam, I hope that's sunny tomorrow in the afternoon. Not, I wish that it was sunny tomorrow, I hope that Julie has a lovely weekend. Not, I wish that Julie had a lovely weekend. Wish plus, that, plus would. On the other hand, we use would with wish in a little bit of a special way. It's generally used about other people who are doing, or not doing, something that we don't like and we want that person to change. It's not usually used about ourselves, or about something which nobody can change though. Exceptionally, we do use it about the weather. Examples: I wish that Ahmed wouldn't eat all the food. Ahmed does usually eat all the food and I don't like it. I want him to change his behavior. I wish that the students would be quiet. They are not quiet and I don't like the noise. I wish that you wouldn't drink so much. You do drink a lot and I don't like it. I want you to change this. We don't usually use would when there's no feeling that we want somebody to change their behavior. Not, I wish that tomorrow would be a holiday. Instead, I wish that tomorrow was a holiday. Not, I wish that I would work harder. It's strange to use wish plus would about yourself, as you can change your behavior if you don't like it. Wish is about the past. Wish plus that, plus past perfect. We can use wish with the past perfect to talk about regrets from the past. These are things that have already happened but we wish they'd happened in a different way. This use of wish is very similar to the third conditional. Examples: I wish that I had studied harder at college. I didn't study hard at college, and now I'm sorry about it. I wish that I hadn't eaten so much sugar yesterday. But I did it a lot yesterday. Now I think it wasn't a good idea. I wish that the bus had been on time. But unfortunately the bus was late, and so I missed the meeting. Instead of the past perfect subjunctive, we can use could plus perfect infinitive. Examples: if only I could have been there. I'm sure it was a great party. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there. Other uses of wish. Wish plus to plus infinitive. We can use wish with the infinitive to mean would like. This is very formal. We don't usually use a continuous tense with wish in this case. Examples: I wish to speak to pastor. This means the same as I would like to speak to the pastor. I wish to go to my house now. Wish plus object plus to plus infinitive. In the same way, we can use wish with an object and an infinitive. Examples: I do not wish you to publish this post. I wish these students to leave. Wish plus somebody plus something. This is used mostly in set phrases. I wished him a Merry Christmas. They wished me a happy birthday. Thank you for listening.